Have you ever traveled to a new country and realized that the smallest, everyday habits can feel completely different? Well, after living in both the United States and the Philippines, I can tell you, the cultural contrasts between these two countries are super fascinating. Some are funny, some are surprising, and some will really make you think about how we live our daily lives. So today, I'm going to share 10 cultural differences between America and the Philippines. And just a reminder, this is a general list based on my personal experiences. Not every American or Filipino fits into these categories. But these are the things I noticed most while growing up in the US and now living here in the Philippines. Alright, let's jump straight in. 1. Quirks expressions. One of the first things I noticed are the little quirks and expressions Filipinos use compared to Americans. For example, in the US, people point with their fingers, "Hey, the bathroom is over there." But in the Philippines, many people point with their lips, yes, literally their lips. If you ask a Filipino, "Where's the CR?" they might just do this lip-pointing gesture. Another quirky expression? Filipinos often raise their eyebrows to mean, yes. If you ask a kid, "Do you want some food?" instead of nodding, they'll just raise their eyebrows. Meanwhile, Americans might give a thumbs up or an okay hand sign. And let's talk about avoiding the sun. In the US, umbrellas are only for the rain. But in the Philippines, umbrellas are also used to block the sun. You'll even see people hiding behind a signpost or a tree just to stay in the shade. Why? Because in Filipino culture, lighter skin is often considered more desirable. Meanwhile in the US, people actually want to get tan because darker skin is often seen as attractive. Total opposites. 2. Word slang. Another big difference is in the way we use words. In the Philippines, people say, soft drinks. In the US, it's just soda, or pop, in some states. Filipinos say aircon instead of AC or air conditioning. Tissue, in the Philippines means what Americans call napkins. And here's a funny one, in the Philippines, alcohol often means hand sanitizer. I once had a friend at church ask me, "Do you want some alcohol?" and I thought he meant liquor, but no, he just meant sanitizer. There are tons of other differences. Filipinos say rubber shoes, Americans say sneakers. Filipinos say CR, comfort room, Americans say restroom. Filipinos say open the light, Americans say turn on the light. Filipinos say ballpen, Americans just say pen. Filipinos call McDonald's McDo, Americans just say McDonald's. These little differences can be funny at first, but they also show how language adapts to each culture. 3. Politeness sensitivity. Filipinos are generally very polite, sensitive, and non-confrontational in their communication. In contrast, Americans tend to be more direct and straightforward. In the Philippines, people often say, please, thank you, or sorry, multiple times in a single interaction. Even a simple gesture like moving aside on the sidewalk is done with a polite hand wave downward, almost like saying, excuse me, I'll just pass here. Meanwhile, in the US, people often speak bluntly. If the service is slow, it's common to see an American complain directly to the waiter. Americans even joke by making fun of their friends, like teasing someone about a bad haircut. That kind of humor is less common in the Philippines, where words can be taken more sensitively. This cultural difference really shows how much respect and courtesy is valued in Filipino society. 4. Pace of life. Hourglass with flowing sand. Now, let's talk about the pace of life. In the US, life is fast. People are always rushing, schedules are tight, and being on time is considered a sign of respect. For example, in New York City, everyone walks fast because they are always on their way to something important. In the Philippines, the pace is much slower and more relaxed. People are often late to events, sometimes even by an hour, and it's not a big deal. Even in stores, you might find employees chatting casually instead of rushing around. This difference reflects the island life vibe of the Philippines, more laid back, more chill. 5. Sharing is caring. One of the most beautiful things I've experienced in the Philippines is the culture of sharing. Filipinos love to share, whether it's food, clothes, or even personal items. And when it comes to food, hospitality is unmatched. Filipinos will insist that you eat with them, no matter how little they have. In fact, refusing food can even be considered rude. I remember once meeting a vendor selling lumpia. Even though it was his business, he offered me food for free just because I hadn't eaten yet. That generosity really touched me. In contrast, American culture is more independent. It's more of a get your own mentality. Sharing isn't absent, but it's not as deeply ingrained in everyday life as it is in the Philippines. 6. Personal space. This one is huge. In America, people value personal space. There's almost an invisible bubble around you, and it's considered rude to enter that bubble unless you're close to someone. But in the Philippines, personal space works differently. People stand close to each other, even when there's plenty of room. On escalators, sidewalks, or in stores, someone might stand right next to you, and it's completely normal here. It took me a while to adjust, because as an American, I was used to keeping a few feet of distance between myself and strangers. 7. Respect for elders. Respect for elders is one of the most admirable aspects of Filipino culture. Filipinos use respectful titles like ate, older sister, kuya, older brother, tito, uncle, lola, grandmother, and so on. Even strangers can be addressed this way as a sign of courtesy. There's also a beautiful tradition called mano, where you take the hand of an elder and place it on your forehead as a gesture of respect. In the US, respect for elders exists too, but it's not expressed in the same everyday ways. Titles like Mr. or Mrs. are used, but less frequently today. 8. Rules. Following them. Here's a funny one. Rules. In the US, rules are usually followed strictly. For example, if there's a line, people line up properly. Traffic laws are enforced seriously. But in the Philippines, rules are more flexible. You might see signs that say, no littering, yet trash is still on the ground. Or a no peeing sign on a wall, and, well, let's just say the wall tells another story. Even on the road, people don't always follow traffic laws to the letter. It's not that Filipinos don't care about rules, it's just that enforcement and cultural attitudes are different. 9. Meal structure. Food culture is another major difference. In the US, most people eat 3 big meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In the Philippines, meals are smaller but more frequent. You have breakfast, then merienda, snack, lunch, another merienda, dinner, and sometimes even a late-night merienda. Merienda can be something simple like bread, coffee, or small pastries. So while Filipinos eat more often, Americans usually eat larger portions at fewer times. 10. Tipping. Finally, let's talk about tipping. In the US, tipping is a huge part of culture. Whether it's at a restaurant, in a taxi, or at a salon, people are expected to leave 15 to 20 of the bill as a tip. Not tipping is considered rude. In the Philippines, tipping exists, but it's far less common and usually smaller in amount. When I explained to my driver that it's normal to tip 10 in the US, he couldn't believe it. And honestly, it makes sense. The economies and wage systems are completely different. And there you have it, 10 cultural differences between America and the Philippines. What I love about these differences is that they show how unique each culture is. Neither one is better than the other, they are just different, and that's what makes traveling and living abroad so interesting. So tell me in the comments, which of these cultural differences surprised you the most? And if you're Filipino, which one do you notice the most when you interact with Americans? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more cultural insights, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.